It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Man, who do I have in the digital intersection today? Well, I got Steve Spencer. Steve Spencer's a recruiter with Morrissey Dark. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely great, Ray. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. You know, it's been a long time. We've talked a lot in that intersection between the digital and physical worlds. We don't get to see each other that often, so I'm glad you're here with me today. I reached out to Steve because human capital component is so important to the deliverable, no matter what reseller channel you belong to. But when I look at my friends in the imaging channel, there's a lot of things that have to take place over the next couple of years. There's a lot of disruptions coming. There's a lot of, convergence coming, consolidation coming. And I wanted to get Steve's thoughts on where that human capital component is today, what we need to do to maybe correct some mindsets. Because, I always believe that old mindsets are going to be hard to deliver new concepts. So, Steve, let me ask you a question. What are you seeing out there in the imaging channel side or the NPS program side around human capital?
Well, Ray, you're right. There's various degrees of adaptability out there. I see three basic behavioral models being run out there. The first one, of course, is the traditional model that we see, which is growth either organically or through M&A. Mm-hmm. And, there's a few assumptions there. It's making it pretty successful for some dealers. It assumes a strong economy. It uses a rationale that more geography is better.
Or more of the same, more of the same. It's a lot of sameness, though, in that model.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of sameness in that model that scares me.
There is. There's a lot of people following that. But the trick is, can they roll up these acquisitions and can they scale the excellence that they've had in their operations across those companies and those geographies? And can they achieve that ROI? Mm-hmm. That's a big question.
Yep. Without diversification.
There's also an evolving model out there. And the evolving model is the one where a lot of dealers will see them get into managed IT services, a lot of managed print services and some heavier emphasis on it, some ECM services. And, it assumes that the organization can afford to hire talent in this highly capable industry. These are different skill sets, and that they'll pay the freight. And it also assumes that they know how to hire and to interview people that are in a different industry with different expertise.
Well, that's a question for you. Let's say I'm a dealer, I'm progressive, and I think, I want to get into e-commerce as an example. Well, none of my people understand that digital platform. None of my people understand e-commerce. They don't understand fulfillment processes over warehousing. So I decide I'm going to go out. I want to bring somebody in to do that. How are they going to interview that type of a person, because they don't even understand what they're looking for? That's why they're going to hire them.
Right. And so they need a consultant or a consultative type of person to help them. Clearly, that's what I do for a living.
Sure.
But there are others out there that they can go to bounce ideas off of, somebody that will listen to what the requirements are and come up with a solution that makes sense for them.
As part of your service, do you help them understand the cost of that? So let's say I agree, I got to get into e-commerce. I'm going to hire this person, this expert, to come into my organization and help me get there. Well, of course, I'm not going to be there probably for 6-8 months a year. So how do I deal with all that? Do these owners or these old mindsets sometimes go back to what they know and they're comfortable with, and then do you see these programs just kind of fade away and that high person they brought in leaves?
Sustainability is the issue there. And I'm not a domain expert in e-commerce. I don't claim to be, and I know the people who are. And that's the difference, because my job is to get them in touch with them, whether that be in a contractual or whether that be on a full-time basis. But I can certainly assist an organization that wants to make an evolving change like that.
Sure.
So the next area, Ray, though, is really the disruptive model. And we're starting to see that. And I would say 5% or less of the marketplace is actively pursuing it, understands it, and is committed to it.
How do you define that disruptive market?
Well, it's pretty much, they're focusing on customer experience. They recognize customers are changing. As much as we don't want them to in some cases, they change. And when they do, if we're not in the right spot at the right time, in the right place to be able to intersect with their needs, we're not going to be able to fulfill them. So as customers change and they want a different experience from their vendors, their partners, several variables actually are observed. Stronger relationships are needed.
Well,
It's
I would
not-
say, the problem with
transaction.
I think the problem with relationships that I see and hear a lot of is everybody bets on these great relationships that they've had, but they've developed them with a 1990s or 2000 mentality. And relationships are changing. Great relationships don't necessarily even mean they know a human person. I can have a great relationship with an organization because I can navigate in that digital world, as an example. I can have a great relationship with an organization because I'm buying products that don't even need service, let alone evaluate and service every time somebody shows up. So the mindsets are changing with our customers, but I don't think we're changing or evolving that relationship definition. And that scares me because I think that there's a whole lot of great relationships. What's my quote? Great relationships being taken away by better experiences every single day.
And better relationships, better experiences are exactly what our customers are going to want to see.
Yep.
And so if they can get a better experience somewhere and a better relationship both, there's not much that you can do in the traditional model.
No, I agree 100%. So what do you see as the biggest thing that a dealer needs to pay attention going into 2020? They want to contract with you or someone like you to help them with their human capital component. What's the strategy around human capital? I mean, there should be a strategy there. You don't just pick up the phone and say, I want to do this or I want to do that. What should they be planning and strategizing?
Well, they need to recognize that they need a different set of skills. They need people who come from outside the industry even to bring that future experience to the present for them, because it doesn't always exist inside. So you have to broaden your horizons, look outside the industry, and look at the people who have the good, solid track record in bringing technology and services and perspectives into organizations to make them highly successful.
Do you see anybody in the space today bringing in outsiders with a real outsider? Is that anybody?
I do. Some of them are my clients,
okay,
and some of them I'm under non-disclosure with, so I really can't talk about it. But I have at least one large company that's bringing in teams of Six Sigma black belts along with Scrum Masters to go through every element of their entire software infrastructure to lean it out and to make it more profitable and to prepare them for the coming business model changes that our customers are going to
That's the
demand.
disruptive model, obviously, that person. So that's awesome to see that. Well, I got to tell you, we all know that human capital is important, but I don't think it's ever been more important than it's going to be in the next few years, especially as the industry consolidates, as we start seeing more and more of these technologies converge. Dealers have to be prepared for that. And you're only as good as your people. We all know that. A company's only as good as its people. Its leaders have to definitely think out of the box. Its leaders definitely have to look in places they've never looked before, and that includes the human capital component. But Steve, I got to tell you, it's always great to talk to you. I'll look forward to seeing you again here on the intersection between the digital and physical world. Is there any advice you want to give these dealers to start out their new year?
Just open your minds. It's already late. If you're hiring now, you're hiring for the end of the first quarter.
There you go. Well, my friends, I'm going to end this like I always do. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you, Ray.
All right.